Everybody, it's the Mad Master here. I'm doing a third video today, and I I'm a little bit worried about the hysteria that's come about with the whole monkeypox thing, and I just wanted to talk about one of my observations and thoughts are. So I have a relative who was with me on a lot of the skepticism of the last 2.5 years of what's happened with the virus, and he is very worried because he's seeing a lot of media exposure of this whole monkeypox thing. And this is the whole thing that people have to understand is that now we are in a new age where instead of terrorist threats, they're going to talk about this virus stuff. And this is going to be a thing, this whole, we're based on a biomedical kind of security apparatus rather than like a geopolitical thing, which we were under the terrorist guys. I don't know, it's kind of like what they talk about in reality transurfing, a pendulum or a tulpa or whatever. It's like the current thing. The current thing is not terrorism. The current thing is biomedical things. So the media is going to focus unduly on this. And of course, that's what's been happening. Now, it's going to last 10 or 20 years, just like with terrorism. I mean, it's going to be, just as Matt McKinley talked about this too in a video, like how this is like the new focus it's going to be. I don't remember if this was a video that is actually only available on BitChute, I believe now, because I think he took down this, it was a prediction, April predictions 2020 video. You can find it on BitChute, Quantum of Conscience. He talks about how this is going to be the new thing. And I don't know if it's because just the conglomeratization, I can't talk, of all these things, of all the big pharma becoming more powerful and influencing politicians, and just kind of the confluence of factors with the world global organizations. But they're going to focus on this thing, just like with, I think, probably the height of the these think tanks or corporations or conglomerates about terrorism probably reached their height in the early 2000s, and that's probably coincided with the big event that happened back then. So these companies had huge stocks, and that's what's happening with big pharma and stuff. So there's going to be a focus on all this stuff, is my point. Now, do I think monkeypox is a threat? I mean, if it's airborne, it is. But by all accounts, we do not. I mean, most people do not think that it's airborne, and I don't think it's very commonly ever been airborne. It's more of a direct contact. So essentially, I've heard rumors, and I don't know if I've substantiated the rumors that there was some kind of fetish. This is from Styx, Hex, and Hammer. I haven't looked into this, but I take him with a grain of salt. He talked about how there might have been some kind of fetish festival and people were having unprotected sex or something, and then they got it, and that's how it's been spreading. And there have been articles about it's gay or bisexual men, getting it by anal sex or whatever. So this is not going to be a threat like the CV has. But of course, the media is acting like it is. They're like, oh my God, the monkeypox, and it's one of those things. And my whole thing is like, well, I've been through 2 years of this shit. There's still shows, there's still concerts that I see that you click on the ticket and it's like, you must have the jab to come to the show, which is the worst part. But all the ones say, or test or jab. And that's really sad that they're still doing that, in my opinion. I mean, I was looking for a martial arts place. There was a martial arts place that requires a jab. Then there's one in this town. I'm not going to mention the name. Not the one that I went to, the Kung Fu that I went to, which I do want to go back eventually. He doesn't say that on his website. He just says they're following protocols and stuff, by the way. But there's this other one that says, we're not going to ask for your private HIPAA information, and they believe it's like HIPAA, even though that's been debunked too, that the whole thing's HIPAA related necessarily, asking for that. But I was very happy to see that. So I'm going to actually try out this place. But anyways, that's off topic. But yeah, the whole thing with the monkeypox, it's just it's a hysterical, you know, reached by the media because they know that they get money for this now. It's like people read the CV stuff in the media. It was like the big money thing. I guess Trump is no longer a big money motivator for people. I think masking will come back because of monkeypox. I don't, probably not, but it's the whole thing. It's just like before it was terrorism, and then it was Trump and Russia, and now it's this biomedical thing. That's what it is. So that's the current thing, other than Ukraine, of course. Like Ukraine is like, oh, that's overseas, that's not affecting us. Oh, monkeypox. You have to scare people enough to click on your fucking article and then totally contradict your headline or your first few paragraphs in the middle of the article. I mean, the media is fucked. I mean, I don't believe in laws restricting the media, but it's just like, if there was like I'll just say a natural disaster that just eliminated most of the media somehow. There's like some big earthquake. Everybody, and I'm not saying that I wish anybody, ill harm, violence or anything like that, or harm. But if there was some kind of big natural disaster that, destroyed most or half the media or most of the media outlets, I would not shed a tear, is what I'm saying, because it's so disgusting how and it's probably always been that way to a certain extent. I mean, Noam Chomsky's book didn't come out in 2017, his Manufacturing Consent. It came out in like the 80s or like the early 90s or whatever. It's always been that way to some extent, but the matter of what they do now is worse in a certain way, because it's like it's beyond the pale. It's like, it's not more subtle. It's not, the subtlety is gone. The propaganda it spits in your face, and it's right in your face at this point with the propaganda that's out there. It's like, it's so brazen compared to how it was before. And that's why when you see the propaganda perpetuated, you're like, I mean, at least a lot of people like me are like, yeah, that's so stupid. That's bullshit. And back in the day, it was more under the cover. It's like, oh, well, we think that this might be the case, blah, 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 But I mean, the propaganda is no different than, propaganda is still propaganda, and it was propaganda all along. It's been part of a society in the West since the inception of the West, but it's just so out in the open now, or in your face, that and you wonder, and that's what makes me mad. That's the whole thing that makes me so pissed about people and makes me alienate people sometimes, like on social media or elsewhere, is because I always give people the benefit of the doubt that they are smarter than they are. I think they're smarter than they are, or more critically think more than they do. But they don't. The unfortunate thing is, people are the most like they read Proust or whatever, or they listen to 18th century classical. I just watched Gone Girl. It's a quote from Gone Girl or whatever. They listen to 18th century like composers or whatever, and like, or fucking or they'll listen to NPR, or they read this or that, or they sniff their own farts or whatever, and drink the most expensive coffee drinks or whatever, which, yeah. Anyways, so I give people the benefit of the doubt for being, not for being, they're dumber than they put on, is what my point is. They're more full of shit and hubris and self-delusion a lot of the time, because I think people are smarter. I think they are smart enough to know it's bullshit a lot of the time. I think they are, but they're this is at least a proportion of these people do believe that, or are in that camp too. There's people that are actually just totally out to lunch about all this stuff, and then there's people that are kind of like, if you press them hard enough, then they will say, oh yeah, the Democrats are just as bad, yeah, but the Republicans are so scary. I always vote for the lesser of two evils. It's like, you have to press them really hard, but they'll focus on how bad the Republicans are, not talk about the Democrats, for example. And it's the undue focus about things that bothers me. So it's like, do it equally. And that's the whole thing about me. Wow, this is turning into a way different video. It's supposed to be about monkeypox, but that's the whole thing about me. And it's like, I'm mad. I focus on the left, or the liberals, as far as bashing them, because not a lot of people do that these days from the left. They don't do it from the left, or from sort of an anarchist, anti-establishment, whatever you want to call it, because just anti-hierarchy, I'll say that, anti-hierarchical, kind of thing, because a lot of people don't want to do that. They just think, oh, the Democrats, oh, they're not perfect. Oh, they're not perfect. They want to do that, and they just want to say that. But I want to attack. I want to fucking symbolically. I want to symbolically slit their fucking, symbolically, allegorically slit their throats. As far as the whole party apparatus and the system that's in place, because it's just completely fucking maddening how bad it's becoming. And so yeah, the media is shit, and that's the monkeypox thing. Seeing all these clips about it. I mean, if it does become some type of epidemic, then okay, well, I don't know what the hell's going on with that, but if in 2003 we had just as many cases in the United States, but not even half the coverage, then there's something wrong. So that's about all.